Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to the You and I Verse All Temple for the sun, planets, moon, and stars. I'll be your Lord of Hosts, Lord Messiah, and we're going back into our remittance. What is remittance and how does it work? All right, so we're going to read this article real fast, and actually, I'm gonna let the computer read this article real fast by Sapriya Hamal, and we're gonna see what this is talking about. So I'm going to just let it break it down, basically what remittance is, you know what I'm saying, and I'm going to go into a definition, then I'm going to go into a little more deep.
Most often people consider the transfer of funds overseas as remittance, but the transfer within the country also comes under the same. Every now and then we come across newspaper headlines that reads, "Sharpest decline in remittance predicted, economy fall due to remittance decline," and many more of such. Before we talk about how economy gets impacted due to fall or rise in remittance, we need to understand what remittance actually is. What is remittance? Regarding the word formation, the term is derived from the word remit, meaning to send back. Thus, in simple words, remittance refers to the act of transferring or sending certain amount of money by one party to the other. Most often people consider the transfer of funds overseas as remittance, but the transfer within the country also comes under the same. As the trend of foreign migration is escalating, mostly among the working age group, more so from the developing nations, the word remittance today has become a common household term. As a non-resident national, people face the need to send across money back home to their families for different purpose of life. How helpful is remittance? The remittance facility has been one of the major boon for most families of developing nations. These remittance facilities have helped most families to sustain their livelihood as well as improve their living standard. Most families of developing nations depend on the money sent by their family members back home in order to fulfill their basic and additional needs. Not just families, but remittance facility also play a very important in economic growth, development of the country. Similar to many developing nations like Haiti, Kyrgyzstan, and Honduras, Nepal's economy also relies on remittances. Almost 30% of Nepal's GDP is contributed by remittance, indicating it to be one of the most important source of revenue.
So in other words, they use remittance to basically circulate funds around the world. People that come here from other countries, they use it because it benefits them because they can multiply their money, you know what I mean, by using it. And also, you know what I'm saying, for us here, we're able to use it for the remittance of our own bills. You know what I'm saying? So this is why, like I say, when you see the remittance slip on your at the bottom of your bill, you're supposed to tear that off, put the proper amount, so forth, so forth. Now they're gonna give some more in-depth information about how you actually do that and so forth. So I hope y'all been watching these videos. This is a little more information to add on.
What are the types of remittance? Since we have learned what remittance is and its role in economic growth.
Alright, basically they're just gonna say that inward remittance is like when somebody sends something into the country. Outward remittance is when somebody sends something out of the country. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. So the key takeaways from this whole document was that the remittance refers to money sent by one party to another within or outside the country. Remittance is one of the most important sources of revenue for a country and plays a vital role in its economic growth and development. There are two types of remittance: inward remittance and outward remittance. Okay. So now we're gonna go to alright, so now we're gonna go to these definitions that I had drawn up here. Some more definitions of remittance, right? Alright, so it says, what does remittance mean? Remittances are transfers of funds between parties as a bill, an invoice, or even a gift, right? Because remember, when you deposit money into a bank, they take that as a gift. They don't say, oh, this is so and so money and he has this amount. They take it as a gift. That's why I remember when, and they got certain regulations on how you can get your money out the bank. Remember that time when Soldier Boy went to the bank and he's like, "Yo, I wanted 100,000. They only telling me they could give me 30,000." He's like, "Man, give me my money, man, give me my money." Yeah, that's because he don't read that small print. Once you give that money, you donated that money to them. They took that as a gift, and then they regulate how you can get it back. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, however, remittance refers to broadly to the funds migrants send to their relatives, you know what I'm saying, home and abroad and so forth, right? So how can I get a cash remittance, right? It says a cash remittance requires the sender to provide their information, such as full name, local address, and purpose of the remit. For the cash remittance to a bank account, the sender needs to provide the beneficiary's full name, cash amount details, including the SWIFT code. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what is that SWIFT code? We gotta look into that right there, and I'm gonna pull that up next, right? We're gonna go into that. So it says, what is remittance between cash and remittance? What is the difference between cash and remittance? Payment is made via banknotes and coins, cash, deposit and deposits, and credit on an account by a financial institution or a similar institution. Therefore, a bank transfer is when an amount goes from one account to another. In comparison, a bank remittance is used when a transfer is made between two different accounts. So when you transfer money to one account to another, that's called a remittance as well. But the form of remittance I'm showing people is that, like, when you get that check at the bottom, that check at the bottom of your bill, so which is actually a check, you're supposed to send that in as a payment. Fill it out as paid to the order of. Put the exact what's called in there. Now, if it's one that has an invoice, then you put the invoice number on there as well. Like, kind of like rewrite it basically, just as a living being. So it says, how long does money remittance take? Um, Depending on the institution sending and receiving the funds, the method used, a bank transfer could take between 1 to 5 business days. Understand this difference between money can help you choose the options that best suits your needs. Oh yeah, and understand this is not legal advice. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So let's get it. Alright, so now I'm going to show y'all the SWIFT number, right? So they said they got to put the SWIFT code on there, right? So what is the SWIFT code? Now I'm going to the SWIFT code. So yeah, so I was looking at what you call something earlier. My dude was showing me, and he got to put that invoice number on there because I remember seeing invoice on there. So you got to put that invoice on there. So it says credit bill approval process, right? Credit bill approval process. They talk about irrevocable letters of credit. You know what I'm saying? Like different ways to pay. And if y'all know what an irrevocable letter of credit is, look that up. Irrevocable letter of credit. Look that up. Better than a promissory note. Okay, I can see why I didn't get into all of this because it was like long and boring and technical looking. But anyway, I'm gonna just break down the basic for it. All right, so it says SWIFT, statewide integrated financial tool. Quick reference guide. All right, credit bill approval process, right? So it's the approval process for a bill that is credit. See, told you that bill is a form of credit that they're gonna credit to your account to pay your bills. So anyway, approvals are required for all credit bills. State staff who create credit bills, requesters, will submit the credits for approval. Right, see, they will submit the credits for approval. The request for approval will be routed to agency staff with the approval role. So it says approvers will receive notification or action when bills have been routed to their approval. So right. So in other words, when you send that remittance slip in, you need to call the place that you sent it in. The PO might be in a PO box, but like look up their company name, look up their number, how to contact them. Be like, listen, I sent this remittance slip in. I just want to know if you guys received it. Did it have the proper SWIFT code or the proper invoice on it? You know, I just want to make sure that everything was went through. Did it get a credit to the account? And they're like, oh yes, yes, we have it here. Yes, it's what was the amount that was accredited? Oh, da da da. And what they should tell you the same amount that was on the bill. If they tell you that information, then you know that it went through, and you know that that amount has been accredited to your account. Therefore, your bill is paid. You understand? So when they try to send you another bill in the mail, so, but hey, you missed your payment this month. No, I didn't. And you ain't even gotta argue with them, and they know what it is. They just gonna send you another bill just to be like, see if you dumb enough to pay it. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, um, requesters will receive a notification alert and an email notifying them when the request has been approved or denied. So they'll let you know, saying whether it's been approved or denied. Maybe you need to sign up with their like online notification thing or something like that, and saying you can get that notification to let you know. So it says staff requesters route for approval, final approval, notification email, denied. They're gonna give you a notification email. Approvers, approval title, notification, first approval, denied, da, da, da. So basically, if you get approved or denied, they're gonna give you a notification via email. So approvers or requesters can check my work section of the bill work center to review approval. Make this a little bigger for y'all. All right, so all right, so approvers approvers and requesters may check the My Work section on the Billing Work Center to review approval information. Inquiries include invoice pending, invoices pending my approval, invoices not submitted for approval, invoices pending approval for selected business unit. Right, and because that's another thing too. They may have different invoices for like certain complex cases may have different invoices, and they may have multiple remittance addresses that you may have to send things to. So if that's the case, then you may have to you know like get the approval and see if like everything has went through and check with the different agencies and make sure everything went through. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you have like partial payments, stuff like that. Da, 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 da. So when a bill is approved, the bill approval status changes from pending to approved. All right, makes sense. So step one, I'm gonna let this read off. So if I need to break it down, I'll stop and break it down. So this is showing you the process of how this goes and so forth, right? Come on, we're not gonna do that. So step one, reviewing the approval or denial bill credit.
Step 1. View and approve or deny the credit bill.
Credit bill.
After a credit bill has been submitted for approval, the request will display in the approvals tile for staff who have the approval role. 1. Select the approvals tile on your homepage. The pending approvals page appears displaying a list of items waiting for review and approval. 2. Select Credit Invoice from the left menu. Credit invoices, bills, waiting for approval display on the right side of page. 2. Page, quick reference guide.
All right, so hold on. So so they just said select credit invoice from the left menu. Credit invoice bill waiting on approval on the right side of the page. Okay, so they're saying that the credit invoice is going to be on the left side and the invoice bill is going to be on the right side. Okay.
1 page, Quick Reference Guide. Quick Reference Guide November 1st, 2019. Credit Bill Approval Process. Approvals are required for all credit.
Oh, come on, we read this already. Alright, they wrote that way back there. Alright, y'all, listen, man. I ain't trying to go through all this right now, man. But check it on some realness, though. You gotta look for the Swift number and all that. Well, no, I'm gonna let this play out. I'm gonna let it play out. I just gotta pay attention.
2 page, Quick Reference Guide. Note, all of the transactions pending your approval are listed on the right side of the page by default, and the transactions are organized by type. You can change the display by selecting a category on the left menu, clicking on the View by drop-down and selecting a different option including Date Routed, Firm, Priority, and Requester. Selecting the filter icon to limit the transactions displayed in the listing by type, Requester, Firm, Date Period, or Priority. After you have made your selections on the filter page, click on the Filter button to apply the filter. 3. Select a credit bill to approve in the listing on the right.
Alright, so yes, if you're looking at this thing here. So they're saying here, like, okay, you see over here the credit invoice on the left hand side over here, the credit invoice, and then they were saying about the approval or deny, and then they're saying, okay, credit invoice here, da, da, da. They were saying about the invoice number and the what other number, the billing number or the something other number. All in all, this is, it says view the credit invoice. All right, let's find the business unit invoice number. Okay, so they say it says view the credit invoice approval detail page. High level information on credit bills displayed, including the business unit invoice number, account, customer name, bill status, and approval status. Yeah, so basically they just explaining all the stuff that you see on the bill. You know what I'm saying? And basically just line it up for you all technical and all of that. They just tell you all the technicals about it. Basically, like you'll see on this here. See the business unit invoice amount entered by. See, this is like a different kind of format. You know what I mean? This is for a credit invoice approval. You know what I mean? So this is how you deal with a credit invoice. Customer, the bill type, bill status, approval status. Whether it goes from pending to approval and so forth. So that's when you're dealing with with invoices and whatnot, right? So it's click on approval chain to view the comments entered by requester, so that you can also click the multiple approval links to view who approved your credit bill. Okay. So you see this here, business unit, multiple approvers, credit invoice approvers. These are the people that, I guess these are approval customer was, build, okay, building error. Alright, so, alright, close the next one. Statewide integrated school. Yeah, y'all, this is for invoices, y'all. So any of y'all who do like business and y'all be getting invoices and stuff like that, this is the type of stuff you're gonna have to deal with. But like I said, the main stuff I'm trying to show people is like stuff on bills and stuff like that. But like it just said before, on certain remittances, you may have an invoice number, and bill type and, this type of stuff. So this is what y'all looking at. If y'all want to pause and go over it a little more, see, look what this said right here. It said credit invoice approval detail. See what I'm saying? So yeah. Alright, so the message display, click approved. So if it's approved, they're gonna be like credit is approved. So then you know everything went through. So maybe you may be able, I guess if you're on their website for the people that you remit it to, you could go on their website and see if it's going through or whatnot. You know what I mean? You just got to know how to read the invoices, know how to see if it's pending or if it's approved, and you know what I mean? See credit invoice. You know what I mean? And you see how it's in the negative, right? It says negative 350, negative 9, you know what I mean? Because when they was talking about how you put down like a $17 payment, and then after that, you'll basically just send in the remittance slip. So you'll start with one payment, and then after that, you'll just continue to send in the slips to keep it going. You know what I'm saying? But once you stop sending in those slips, then you know what I'm saying, you kind of mess up the deal. So you got to keep that going. Okay, I'm gonna show you this last one, and I'm gonna end this video off. I don't know how long this been going so far. Excuse me, y'all. I'm on that thing to shut off. I gotta log back in real fast. Okay, we're 22 minutes in. Alright, that ain't that bad. We'll go like 10 more minutes. I'm gonna end this off on a half-hour mark. Alright, so we're gonna go into this is for people in South Carolina that use you know what I'm saying, Duke Energy. It's called Duke Energy. That's the energy company down there. So if you use Duke Energy and you're South Carolina, in fact, some of my people's down there help them out with their shit down there. Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Okay, here we go. All right, so this says securing your account, right? So how do you secure your account? See, this is about security agreements too, because when you send this remittance slips, that is like a security to back the account. Basically, it's a form of payment to cure the payment. There's credit, like you got to have a good credit score, or you got to have an 750 credit score. No, that's not what that's saying. It's not what that means. They say an established credit. How do you establish credit? It's different ways. So, for example, it says these options may be used for the satisfaction of Duke Energy process business security deposits. What are security deposits? I meant to look that up before, right? What are security deposits?
According to Wikipedia, a security deposit is a sum of money held in trust either as an initial part payment in a purchasing process, also known as an earnest payment, or else, in the course of a rental agreement to insure.
Like when you put down the first month security or 2 month security, that's like a down payment that you put in, then you keep paying your bills, whatever, and then when that's done, you're supposed to get that security money back. Same thing with this tax overages. I'll be showing people about the tax overages. I got that going on too. If y'all want to make some money, holler at me. About these tax overages, we show people how to get back the money that they was owed from their mortgages and all of that when they lost their house and all of that. So it goes the same thing with this, right? So they say that the customer must establish credit before they can continue. So it says a security deposit is a sum of money held in trust. So you're actually creating a trust with this, a security agreement. That's what a trust is, a security agreement. Money held in trust either as an impart agreement to ensure, you know what I'm saying, payment. So you put down your security and whatnot in a rental agreement. But now as far as this is concerned, this people how they're going to describe this security agreement. So it says these options may be used for satisfaction of Duke Energy process business security deposits. A, cash deposit. Don't worry about that. Another one is an irrevocable. Check this: irrevocable letter of credit obtained by customer from a bank or financial institution, which is a bank, um, at customer's expense. So if the person has enough, like say they deposit an asset with the bank, some kind of asset, something of value with the bank, then from that asset they could put a lien against that. Oh, that's what they was talking about before. See, I understood it without even all the big technical terms. Okay, so basically you could put a lien against that asset that's in that is in the bank, and in that lien you'll be able to draw a letter of credit based upon that lien. So you're saying that letter of credit is backed by that asset that's in the bank. So from there you could draw a letter of credit, and then you can use that to, what I'm saying, set it off or whatever, start off. Then it says a surety bond from a bonding company or insurance company obtained by customer and provided to Duke Energy Progress. So if you get a surety bond, what is a surety bond? Let's look that up. What is a surety bond?
According to Wikipedia, in finance, a surety bond or guarantee involves a promise by one party to assume responsibility for the debt obligation of a borrower if that borrower defaults.
So it's like a cosigner or someone that's going to be responsible to pay the debt if someone defaults. So if this doesn't go, if that's going to go by, then you got the surety bond. You know what I mean? So anyway, so now it says a deposit may be paid in person at our Duke Energy location or by telephone or by mail. Now, by mail is when you're going to send in that remittance slip. But that's after your first payment, because remember it says you must establish credit first. You know what I'm saying? So they got to know that you're good for something. So it says security deposits may be paid by cash, check, or money order, and are accepted by at more than 70 convenient payment locations across Duke Energy service territory. Note, not all payment locations are equipped. Listen, not all payment locations are equipped to process security deposits. So they don't all do the remittance process. Basically, they don't all do these things. So don't be mad like, oh, you discriminating against me and all that. Like, you just gotta understand whether it's in their policy or not, because they got to appease you. You know what I'm saying? So if you ain't coming in there talking their policies, then you're not educated. You got to know what it is they're able to do before you start demanding them to do something. So anyway, and as a beneficiary of an account, because we're not the trustees, you can simply request things. You want to stay in honor by requesting. You can't demand as a beneficiary per se. So anyway, review the payment location map for details accepted transaction types. So it says now check, debit card, or credit card. Checks, debit cards, credit cards are accepted for deposit by Duke Energy Easy Pay. There's convenient fee associated with this service. So now, peep this right here. Now, after all of that they just told you, checks, deposits, da 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 da. Now look what they put down at the last thing before they put that, right? Now they put deposits may be mailed to the following address. Then they put Duke Energy Cash Remittance, P.O. Box, 1003, Charlotte, North Carolina. So when they say cash remittance, we just went over what a cash remittance was before. It says to send a certain amount of money to another party. So if they're saying deposits may be mailed by the following address, that deposit is that remittance slip that you get on your check, right? So that's what you're going to be sending them, like after the first month, after you do this right here, because they said it's a service charge, right? So peep the service charge. Service charge. When Duke Energy Process first supplies electric under any applicable meter schedule, the customer shall pay a service charge of $17 plus tax for North Carolina and $15 plus tax for South Carolina, which shall be in addition to all other charges associated with the account. This service charge shall become a part of the first bill rendered thereafter to the customer for electric electricity supplied at such premises unless it is paid in advance of the rendition of such bill. All right, so let me run that back again. It says the service charge shall become a part of the first bill rendered thereafter. So remember when it said, when it talk about a security deposit is a sum deposit of here it says a security deposit is a sum of a money held in trust either as an initial part payment in a purchasing process. See what I'm saying? So this $17 or $15, that's the initial part payment in a purchasing process. And what you're going to do is you're going to purchase this energy service every month by sending in that remittance bill. See? So it says this service charge, but you got to set it off with something. Because remember in the beginning it says each customer must establish credit. So you got to put down something. You gotta be like, all right, man, I gave y'all $15. All right, so let's keep it going from there. Once y'all send me that first remittance slip, I already know what to do with it. I'm gonna send it back in, pay to the order of, blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna endorse it on the back, and I'm gonna endorse it on the back, and you know, I'm gonna endorse it on the back. Put the without recourse, UCC 3-603. And that UCC 3-603 is tender of payment, and I already broke that down in the last video, so I ain't about to go back into that. So basically, so at the end of this, it says right here, so it says the service charge shall become part of the first bill rendered thereafter to the customer for electricity supplied at such premises unless it is paid in advance of the rendition of the bill. So in other words, like unless you like in other words, if you're gonna pay cash, then you could pay cash or whatever, but or you could just keep sending that remittance slip. You know what I'm saying? So that's the end of that, y'all. I know this video is long enough, y'all, but yeah, that's basically what that is. That's basically how you handle that remittance. And I showed y'all the SWIFT code and so forth. So, you know, as far as dealing with invoices and things of that nature. So yeah, look out for that type of stuff. The invoice number, the account numbers, the remit to address. You know what I mean? You're gonna write pay to the order of, and then you're gonna endorse it on the back. You know what I'm saying? And depending upon what kind of contract it is, so you're gonna sign it whatever kind of way. But you're always gonna sign your name, comma, without recourse. Without recourse means you're not obligated to pay any of that back. Another term is non-assumpsit. And then you put the UCC 3-603. Period. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good day. That's been how to pay your bills with your bills, part 4. What is remittance and how does it work? Peace. Holler at me, y'all, for those who need more further help or some specifics on their state. Peace.